Rachel Martinez was living her dream as one of Los Angeles' most sought-after wedding planners. At 31 years old, she had built an empire planning elaborate ceremonies for celebrities, millionaires, and socialites across Southern California. Her company, Forever Moments, was booked solid 2 years in advance, and Rachel's attention to detail and creative vision made her the go-to planner for high-profile weddings. Known for her warm personality and perfectionist approach, Rachel seemed to have the perfect life. She lived in a stunning Beverly Hills apartment, drove a luxury BMW, and was engaged to her college sweetheart, David Kim, a successful plastic surgeon. Their own wedding was planned for December 15, 2024, and Rachel had been excitedly designing what she called the wedding of the century for herself. But on the evening of November 8, 2024, Rachel Martinez disappeared after meeting a potential client at an upscale restaurant in West Hollywood. She had been excited about landing what could be her biggest contract yet, a multi-million-dollar celebrity wedding that would cement her status as the premier wedding planner in Los Angeles. Security cameras from the restaurant showed Rachel leaving alone at 9:47 p.m., walking toward the parking garage where her car was located. She appeared to be talking on her phone and looked relaxed, showing no signs of distress. However, Rachel never made it to her car, and she was never seen alive again. When Rachel failed to return home that night and missed her first appointment the next morning, David immediately knew something was wrong. Rachel was obsessively punctual and would never miss a client meeting without calling. Her disappearance would expose a world of jealousy, betrayal, and deadly competition in the high-stakes wedding industry. David Kim called the police when Rachel didn't answer her phone for over 12 hours. Officers found her BMW still parked in the restaurant's garage, with her purse sitting on the passenger seat containing her wallet, credit cards, and engagement ring. Her phone was missing, and there were no signs of a struggle in or around the vehicle. Detective Maria Santos was assigned to lead the investigation. With over 15 years of experience handling missing person cases in Los Angeles, Detective Santos immediately suspected foul play. Rachel's life appeared too perfect and organized for her to simply vanish voluntarily, and the fact that she left behind her expensive jewelry and personal belongings suggested something sinister had occurred. The investigation began with reviewing security footage from the restaurant and surrounding businesses. Rachel had met with a woman identifying herself as Amanda Foster, who claimed to be planning a celebrity wedding with an unlimited budget. However, when detectives tried to contact Amanda Foster using the phone number and email address she had provided to Rachel, they discovered both were fake. Restaurant staff remembered seeing Rachel with an elegant blonde woman in her late 30s, but their descriptions were vague and generic. The woman had paid for dinner in cash and avoided looking directly at security cameras, suggesting she was deliberately trying to conceal her identity. Phone records revealed that Rachel had received several threatening messages in the weeks leading up to her disappearance. The messages came from anonymous numbers and contained warnings about stealing clients and ruining people's lives. One particularly disturbing message sent just 3 days before Rachel vanished read, "Stop taking what doesn't belong to you, or you'll regret it." Detective Santos realized that Rachel's disappearance might be connected to the competitive and often cutthroat world of high-end wedding planning, where million-dollar contracts could drive people to desperate measures. As the investigation deepened, Detective Santos uncovered a web of professional jealousy and business rivalries within Los Angeles' wedding planning community. Rachel's success had created numerous enemies among her competitors, several of whom had publicly criticized her business practices and accused her of stealing clients through unethical means. The most vocal critic was Victoria Chen, a veteran wedding planner who had been operating in Los Angeles for over 20 years before Rachel arrived on the scene. Victoria's business had suffered significant losses as wealthy clients abandoned her traditional approach in favor of Rachel's modern, Instagram-worthy designs. Private investigators hired by Victoria's company had been following Rachel for months, documenting her client meetings and attempting to poach her customers. Victoria's assistant, Jennifer Walsh, admitted to police that her boss had become obsessed with destroying Rachel's reputation and had been planning to expose alleged copyright violations in Rachel's design work. Another suspect emerged in the form of Rachel's former business partner, Michael Torres, who had been forced out of Forever Moments 18 months earlier, following accusations of embezzling company funds. Michael had been fighting Rachel in court, claiming she owed him millions in unpaid profits, and had stolen his client list when she dissolved their partnership. Michael's financial records showed he was drowning in legal debt and facing bankruptcy. Several witnesses reported that he had been making increasingly desperate threats against Rachel, including a heated confrontation outside a courthouse where he allegedly shouted, "You destroyed my life, and I'll make sure you pay for it." The investigation also revealed that Rachel had been receiving mysterious gifts and flowers from an unknown admirer for several months. The deliveries always came with unsigned cards containing romantic poems and declarations of love. David confirmed that the gifts weren't from him, and Rachel had been growing increasingly uncomfortable about her secret stalker. 2 weeks after Rachel's disappearance, a jogger discovered her body in a remote section of Griffith Park, partially buried under a pile of leaves and debris. The location was nearly 10 miles from where she was last seen, hidden in an area that required hiking off established trails to access. The medical examiner determined that Rachel had been strangled with a thin cord or rope, and she had defensive wounds on her hands and arms indicating she had fought desperately against her attacker. The estimated time of death was between 10 p.m. and midnight on November 8th, roughly 1 hour after she was last seen leaving the restaurant. Forensic analysis of the crime scene revealed tire tracks from a large SUV and footprints from expensive high-heeled shoes, suggesting the killer was a woman who had transported Rachel's body to the remote location. DNA evidence was found under Rachel's fingernails, providing investigators with their first solid lead in identifying her murderer. The discovery of Rachel's body intensified the investigation and brought national media attention to the case. The story of a successful wedding planner murdered by a rival captured public fascination, especially as details about the competitive and sometimes vicious nature of the luxury wedding industry became known. Detective Santos expanded the investigation to include anyone who had access to the type of vehicle used to transport the body, and who might have had the physical strength to move Rachel to such a remote location. The killer had clearly planned the crime carefully, choosing a location where the body might never have been found if not for the random jogger. Digital forensics experts were brought in to analyze Rachel's laptop and business records, searching for clues about who might have wanted her dead. What they discovered would shock everyone involved in the investigation. The breakthrough in the case came when forensic accountants discovered that Rachel had been secretly investigating financial irregularities in several high-profile weddings she had planned. Hidden files on her encrypted laptop revealed that she had uncovered evidence of money laundering, tax evasion, and kickback schemes involving multiple wedding vendors and venue operators. Rachel had been building a case against a network of corrupt business owners who were using elaborate weddings as a front for illegal financial transactions. She had documented meetings, recorded conversations, and gathered financial records that could have sent dozens of people to prison if turned over to federal authorities. The most damning evidence involved Victoria Chen's wedding planning business, which had been systematically overcharging clients and splitting the profits with vendors in exchange for exclusive contracts. Rachel had discovered that Victoria was also using fake vendor invoices to help wealthy clients hide assets and avoid paying taxes on large financial transactions. DNA evidence found under Rachel's fingernails was matched to Victoria Chen, definitively linking her to the murder. When confronted with this evidence, Victoria initially denied any involvement, but her alibi for the night of November 8th quickly fell apart under scrutiny. Security footage from a gas station near Griffith Park showed Victoria's Range Rover in the area at 11:30 p.m. on the night Rachel was killed. Cell phone tower data confirmed that Victoria's phone had been in the vicinity of both the restaurant and the remote location where Rachel's body was found. Under intense interrogation, Victoria finally confessed to murdering Rachel, claiming it was self-defense after Rachel threatened to expose her business practices and destroy her reputation. However, the premeditated nature of the crime, including the fake identity used to lure Rachel to the restaurant, contradicted her claims of self-defense. Victoria admitted to creating the Amanda Foster persona and using it to arrange the meeting with Rachel, planning to confront her about the financial investigation and demand that she destroy the evidence she had gathered. Victoria Chen was arrested on November 24, 2024, and charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, and multiple financial crimes. The arrest shocked the Los Angeles wedding planning community, as Victoria had been considered a respected veteran of the industry despite her rivalry with Rachel. The trial began in March 2025 and became a media sensation as prosecutors revealed the full extent of Victoria's criminal enterprise and the lengths she had gone to protect her illegal activities. Evidence showed that Victoria had been operating her money laundering scheme for over 5 years, helping wealthy clients hide millions of dollars in assets. Prosecutors argued that Victoria killed Rachel not out of professional jealousy, but to prevent exposure of her criminal activities that would have resulted in decades in prison and the complete destruction of her business empire. The premeditated nature of the murder, including the elaborate deception used to lure Rachel to her death, demonstrated Victoria's cold-blooded determination to silence the only person who could expose her crimes. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence including DNA samples, cell phone records, security footage, and Victoria's own confession. Rachel's encrypted files were entered as evidence, revealing the full scope of the financial crimes that Victoria had been desperate to conceal. Victoria's defense team attempted to argue that she had acted in the heat of passion during a confrontation that went wrong, but the evidence of careful planning made this defense untenable. The jury heard testimony about Victoria's months-long surveillance of Rachel and her creation of the fake Amanda Foster identity, specifically to deceive her victim. After deliberating for just 3 hours, the jury returned a verdict of guilty on all charges. Victoria Chen was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, plus an additional 25 years for the financial crimes. The trial also resulted in federal investigations that led to the arrest of 12 other individuals involved in Victoria's money laundering network, effectively dismantling a criminal operation that had been stealing from clients for years. Nearly a year after Rachel Martinez's murder, her story continues to resonate throughout the wedding planning industry and beyond. Her death exposed the dark underbelly of luxury event planning, where enormous amounts of cash change hands with little oversight, creating opportunities for financial crimes and corruption. David Kim established the Rachel Martinez Foundation, which provides financial assistance to small wedding planning businesses and advocates for industry transparency and ethical business practices. The foundation also supports victims of workplace violence and helps protect whistleblowers who expose criminal activity in their industries. Rachel's case led to significant reforms in how high-end event planning businesses are regulated and monitored. New laws require detailed financial reporting for events over a certain dollar amount, making it much harder for criminals to use weddings and other celebrations as fronts for money laundering operations. The wedding planning community in Los Angeles was forever changed by Rachel's murder, with many professionals implementing new safety protocols and background check procedures. The case served as a wake-up call about the potential dangers of working in an industry where large sums of money and intense competition can drive people to desperate measures. Victoria Chen remains in prison, serving her life sentence at the California Institution for Women. She has never expressed genuine remorse for killing Rachel, continuing to maintain that she was protecting herself from what she viewed as an attack on her business and reputation. Rachel's unfinished investigation led to a federal task force that continues to examine financial crimes in the luxury event industry. Her work posthumously helped prosecutors secure convictions against dozens of individuals involved in tax evasion, money laundering, and fraud schemes. Rachel Martinez was just 31 years old when she was murdered for trying to expose the truth about corruption in her industry. Her story serves as a powerful reminder that doing the right thing can be dangerous, but that justice will ultimately prevail when brave individuals are willing to stand up against criminal behavior, even at the cost of their own lives.